everybody, I'm Jessica Tomaszewski, and I'm coming to you today to show you how to make these evergreen wreaths on behalf of Create Portage County, Farm Shed, Solon's Tree Farm, and Main Grain Bakery. Thank you for joining us, and we're going to go over how to make these evergreen wreaths, add some natural accents, and the glory of it this year is that since you're doing it in your own space, if you have your own accents that you have laying around the house, we can add those as well. I'm going to show you how to make a wreath via this video. Keep in mind that it is a video, so please stop, fast forward, or rewind, pause it, whatever you need to do. So I'm going to show you some of the tools that we have. Everybody will get a wreath form in your bag, as well as you'll pick out a bow. And the other piece that you'll find in there is the paddle wire. This will become very important. What you'll need from home is going to be a wire cutters. Shouldn't need it very often. You will need at least a wire cutters and a pruners. This is a bypass pruners. This is the type that I would recommend the most because it is nice and sharp and gonna do some really good pruning for you. We'll also, if you have some garden gloves, you might find those to be very handy. Otherwise, your hands are likely to get full of sap, and I'm sure mine will because I always forget. Types of branches that we will be using. This here would be a balsam fir. And then we've got the thicker looking ones. They look kind of more stout. That's going to be a Fraser fir. Some of the accent that you can use would be an arborvitae, a white cedar. Deer love eating these. And a red osier dogwood. Deer also love eating these. What we're going to be doing is pruning them into bundles. We're going to be looking to find a natural junction where the branch has a union, but it's just slightly longer than your hand outstretched. And that would be the start of a bundle, and then just go with whatever the bough shows you naturally. So I just go with junctures, and then you can kind of flip them over for a little bit of contrast and color, and always you can grab another bough. If you need a little bit of length, you can always kind of squish them together and put them like that. So that's a bundle. I'm going to need about 12 of those before I get started with constructing my wreath. So, okay, to assemble the wreath, we're going to grab the first bundle and take our paddle wire, wrap it around the base of the bundle, and then pick a spot, any spot, on the wreath form and wrap it a couple of times around the form. Now the paddle wire is really important because you can pull it tight. And the other thing that I'm going to be doing is kind of putting the first bundle in where this line comes across on the form so that the bundle is nice and secure. Bundle doesn't have to lay a certain way or anything like that. We're just going to add on to it. Then I'm going to take my next bundle. I don't need to take the paddle wire and wrap it around the base like I did with the first bundle, but I'm going to overlap it by a couple inches on the form and then wrap it. I usually keep the paddle wire like this with the wire running between my fingers. Wrap it about 3 or 4 times per bundle. Okay, so we overlap by a couple inches. Leave the paddle wire going, and then wrap it around that bundle. And we just keep adding our bundles now that we have all of our bundles. Okay, so I've gotten my 12 bundles. Looks like I'm going to be 1 bundle short, so I'm going to make another bundle and tuck it in here It's looking pretty even. It's not looking super wide, just a pretty typical wreath form. And the trickiest bundle, of course, is the last one, because you've got to tuck it down underneath the first bundle and kind of keep that bundle out of the way as you wrap the paddle wire around it to finish it off. And I'm going to wrap it around about 3 or 4 times, just like I did with all the rest of the bundles. And then I'm going to leave like 2 inches and take my wire cutter. This is the one time I'm going to use my wire cutter. And take it, and then I'm going to find a spot on the form where I wrap it around the form to secure it. So it's just one really long piece of wire that's holding everything together. Then I'll take a look at it and kind of make sure I'm okay with how even everything is. If I've got a bare spot someplace, or, oh, you know what, I can see the wreath form back here, I want to tuck a little bit more, you can always go back in and grab a bow and just kind of tuck it in, either with using it to kind of weave through the wire that's in the back, or you can wire it separately. Put a piece of wire on it and then wire it to the frame. Most of the time, just tucking it with the wire that you've currently got is good. And that is the base of the wreath. From here, then we can always add accents, and certainly we're going to find a spot to put our bow. Usually when we get to that stage, it's always helpful to have somebody else or to set it someplace and then look away from it and try and find where you're going to want to put the wreath bow. You can put the bow on the bottom, you can put the bow on the top, whatever strikes your fancy. I'm usually a bow on the bottom person, and I have a bare spot down here, so I'm probably going to tuck my bow in here. Then after that, I am going to look for a way to put an odd number of accents on my bow, or on my wreath, because, like I said earlier, odd is what our eye is naturally drawn to in floral work, in wreath making, in nature in general. Odd is where it's at. So 1 bow, or 3 pine cones, or 5 sets of berries is probably what I will put on my wreath. When it comes to the bows, each of the bows has a little bit of wire. It's a thinner wire, so you may need to grab an extra bit of paddle wire to get it in. Once you get it a spot decided, then you can go around the back and wire it to the wire in the back so that it's fixed. And then floofing. You can always floof the bow. A lot of the bows that we had provided have wire on the edges, and so they're easy to kind of floof and hold their shape. This bow happens to be one of the satin bows, and it doesn't have wire on the edges, so you have to hold the wire firmly and then kind of pull and rearrange the loops wherever you want them. Okay, so now that we've got the wreath assembled, we're going to add some accents. So I've got 3 pine cones and 5 sets of berries here. And what I'm doing with the pine cones is taking a part of my paddle wire and unrolling it a little bit, get about 6 or 7 inches of the paddle wire, and then clipping it with a wire cutter, taking my pine cone and kind of tucking it around the folds of the pine cone, and then twisting it up. And that gives me a little bit, this is way too short, gives me a little bit to work with as far as wiring it to, we're going to give that a go anyway. Let's see if I can make that work. You might want a little closer to 10 inches. of wire, but get the wire and then wrap it around the pine cone to give it something that we can wire to the back of the form. So I've got 3 pine cones with wires. I've also got these berries that are artificial that I'm just going to tuck in as well. I probably will tuck in the berries first. They're just on the stem, and they just fit nicely into the bundles that I already have. And then I'll wire the pine cones on top of it, so that kind of is a way to wire these berries into. This is the art part of the wreath making, where you just get to play with it until it's to your satisfaction, the way you like it to look. And so it's putsy but fun, and really whatever you want it to look like, you can make it look like. All right, so there's my 5 berries, fairly evenly distributed, but not overly. So then I'll take my wired pine cone, and I'm gonna take a look and try and be a little bit more even with those. So I'll probably put one opposite of the bow, one over here. If you look at a compass, it would be about 270, and then 120 down here. So, and poke the wire through, catch it on the other side, and then wire it to the frame. And with my too short one, I come over here. I might add some wire actually. This one is just too short. So, add some wire. And this one I can just go to the wire that I've already had on the pine cone and add that wire to it. So it's got a little bit of length to it. When we get to Saturday, next Saturday, December 5th, I will be on the Zoom live, and if you have any concerns or troubles, I'll be there to answer any questions you have or guide you through if you have anything that you want to ask about. All right, and that is the wreath for my door. And now we'll make another one for the peak of the house. Okay, so we're gonna try and do a second wreath that I'm gonna show you is a little wider, a little wilder. So we're going to still use the same wreath form, but our bundles are gonna be just slightly longer, and we're gonna throw in some of these red osier dogwood pieces just to give it a little bit of texture and color, and make it look a little wider. I also will probably put in a few more bundles. It won't just be the 12. I'm gonna make up 14 of them. At this stage, you'll notice that my bundles are just slightly longer than my other bundles were. Just by 3 or 4 inches, you can add a lot of width to the wreath. Okay, so just like we did with the first wreath, we'll take the first bundle and take the paddle wire and wrap it around. Only the first bundle we do that way, just to get the paddle wire started. What we're gonna do is we wrap the paddle wire around that first bundle. Now we're gonna secure it by kind of tucking the tail end of those branches down along this cross wire, and then wrapping it around 3 times. The paddle helps, you can hold it nice and secure, you put a lot of tension on it. Once we get past that first bundle, we'll grab the second bundle and overlapping it by about 2 or 3 inches. And maybe even with a little twist out. You can twist it out to make it a little wider and wilder. You can always come back in with more boughs in the middle. If you want it nice and wide, that's the way to get the width in this wider, wilder format. So we will continue to layer on a bundle at a time. Again, twisting it to the outside just ever so slightly as we go, making sure that paddle wire stays tight, but not too tight. These reeds, the wreath form, can start to warp if you crank on it too much. Grab another bundle. Lay it across. Oh, the other thing is some people like to have the wreath form with the bowed up, and others will use that dip as a place to put all of their stems. Either way is perfectly fine. Whatever works for you is the way to do it. I always kind of do it with the wreath form up or domed. It's just the way that it's worked for me in the past. So, to finish off this wreath, I'm going to take the first bundle and lift it up a little bit, and then tuck this other bundle in there. Grab my paddle wire and bring it down in, and while holding these back. This is the trickiest part of the whole thing. Hold them down and pull these first ones up a little bit. This might need a little bit of extra pieces in here. If I was a little short of one bundle, but I'm going to take it, and then to finish it off, I'm going to take the paddle wire, run it out a little bit, clip it, and then on the back side here, I'm going to take that wire and wrap it around the wire frame to finish it off. Then taking a look at it, kind of fluff, make sure that I don't have any gaping holes, but also look to see if I've got like a spot for a bow, like if we've got a little bit of like that actually looks like it might be kind of fun for a bow, or I could turn it upside down, make the bow come, this piece is kind of unwieldy, or just leave that one out. So sometimes it helps to have somebody hold it out for you so you can take a look and go, where do I want the top or bottom? And then you can figure out if you want the bow on the top or the bottom. I might have this be the spot that I put my bow in. And I'm not, because of the red osier dogwood, I probably am not going to put a lot of natural, I'm not going to put my pine cones in this one. I just like that red, and I'm going to put a bow on it and call it good. So I hope you had a good time, enjoyed and learned some new skills. When I hang up my wreath, I find that the wreath form itself is perfectly fine, but if you need to add a wire because you have a screw or something that you're attaching it to, we can always add that in the back. But otherwise, so a wreath hanger will work. Thanks!